Mm-hmm. Is it live?
Yeah.
Okay, that way I can do it too. Yeah.
Your volume.
I know. I just didn't realize. Like, uh-oh. Is T-Real on there to like get the sound check to see that he was good?
No, T-Real has to run your house. I mean, you can.
I think you left.
Hello.
It's a little behind this. I put my coat on.
I think so.
Oh yeah, so we project.
Yeah, so we're gonna be talking loud.
Yeah.
Share them.
So it's live. It's still loud. I'm off though. I don't understand how it's still loud. Like how it's still rolling. Oh, when I turn on the video. Okay. Okay. Gotcha. Dang, must have better. Share on. Wow.
Hello.
Hey, how
Hi,
are you?
how are you?
Hi, how are y'all?
I'm pretty good.
There you go.
We'll be getting started soon.
Okay.
For those watching online, so stand by. But we can be. Of course, if you're watching on our live feed, you have questions or comments, feel free to drop them in the comments. We'll be happy to answer them.
How do you share the link if people don't have Facebook?
Well, after this is over, what I do is I download the video and re-upload it to YouTube.
YouTube. Okay.
So they won't,
My daddy.
so they won't be able to catch it live, but there will be a video of it.
Okay. Okay. Share it to Overcut page too.
And then what's the minute? Then also we upload the videos on our podcast channel, which is on Spotify.
Okay.
How are y'all?
Doing pretty good, myself.
Good.
I do want to.
You want what?
Along with Jay.
I mean, it was like when we just talking.
Like, okay.
You can't do it. Plus, like I said, there's this mic. It's a mic that's in there somewhere because when I speak up, I can hear myself through the speakers.
This right there in the middle. That thing has a mic on it.
Oh, it's on the mounted on the projector.
Yeah.
Awesome.
some people coming in.
Hi.
Help yourself. Say the best seat in the house for you.
Oh, I love that sweater. And you have my best friend on there. Everyone knows that Michelle Obama is our best friend. Yes, so I love it.
Madam Vice President right above her.
Okay. Yep. Right. Sorority sister, Madam Vice President. Unshameless plug.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
I'm cool, but that's, brother better cool than I.
Well, it was one.
Yeah.
No, I feel the air, yeah. It's a little, well, I'm not cold,
Okay.
but yeah, I know it's on. But it's, I think
Looks
I've
like it
heard
just
the
cut
rhythm,
off.
yeah, cold and hot.
Oh no, well, I mean, because AJ put this together, I didn't know if she wanted to introduce us or if she wanted to start this off.
We were gonna wait like 2 more minutes.
All right, so,
Okay,
See if anybody else.
okay,
Okay.
okay.
got you.
What kind of?
Pinwheels, it's, cream cheese and.
Well, hello, Facebook world. We were informed that we will begin momentarily. And if you're catching the replay, hi.
Good afternoon, everyone. About 4 minutes past the hour of 12 o'clock. Central Time, for those that may be watching in a different time zone.
You know, standing like this or sitting like this, now I try to reconcile. I've always kind of wanted to do like CNN type MSNBC reporting, but I'm like, can I really be a stoic and just look at the camera while people are talking and just wait?
Maybe,
Wait for the red light to come on.
Yes,
maybe
or other
has
people
people
talking.
been there.
That's interesting because, you know, I'm
Powerful
going on
light
midday in
standing
the morning,
there.
you know, now Diana has you stand up. So I gotta I'm gonna have to get used to that. I'm used to like sitting in the chair with her.
Oh, what's happening for midday?
The women's history.
Oh,
We extended the deadline to the 20th because of her schedule. So we wanted those watching, if they wanted to turn in any nominations. KaleKwomen.us.
yeah, that would be awesome.
Oh, sure.
Thank you all for coming to our Lunch and Learn. We are doing Black entrepreneurs, booked and busy, so we can get a little insight on what it takes to start a business here in NEA. We are very happy to have Shunqetta Cunningham and Mr. LaGanzie Kale, excuse me. Kale, I am so sorry. I get so tongue-tied.
Sorry.
I am so happy to open it up to y'all. We're going to have a conversation and open it up for questions at the end. Thank you guys. Let's move on.
Awesome.
Thank you all for having us. So I'm happy to be here today.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. So, the beautiful thing about LaGanzie and I, that we, I don't know, we do life together now in so many ways. We are fraternity brother and sister. That's how we initially met. And then working together, we're also a St. Church family. And then now, my office is inside the KLK. It's really the KLK building. But I have a suite in there. And so, yeah, we're just life.
Well,
Lifing.
well, Absolutely. As you mentioned, our stories are parallel, and even when setting up this event, AJ had reached out to us both individually, and we didn't know that the other was the person. So when we found out, like, well, this is pretty cool, and as you mentioned, ironic because our stories actually came together. So what we're gonna focus on is just some of the challenges that we both have faced and how we overcome them, and of course, maybe it's an inspiration for those who start businesses. And with me, I started on the nonprofit track, and I met her because she was grant writing, and she had actually wrote some initial grant applications for us. And since then, she has ventured into the for-profit side while still working with her nonprofit clients as well. But regardless of what track that you take, there's still challenges. And of course, I just want to go and get this out the way. Those out there that are watching and listening. For those that operate nonprofit organizations, nonprofit does not mean no money. I always say Ritter Communications, that's our internet provider. They'll cut the internet off just as quick as they'll cut off a for-profit company. It's just simply a tax status. I tell people the reason why that Kale, which is legally owned by our nonprofit, the Voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council, the reason why I had to incorporate as a nonprofit because the FCC basically said if you want this radio station license, you have to incorporate as a nonprofit to get it. So it was a completely, totally different world than what I was used to because especially growing up African American, a lot of, at least from the Delta, Helena, West Helena, and from her Blytheville, you're not really exposed as much to philanthropy, volunteerism. I mean, kind of got my first exposure to it after becoming a member of the fraternity, Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. But like the concepts of giving back, they were just kind of foreign. It was like you go to school, you get an education, you get a job. Volunteering, giving back, what's that? So I had learned radio from the commercial end, but I had to learn from the non-commercial and the nonprofit end, and that was pretty much a whole different world. And it's like two different businesses at once. So there's the radio station itself, and then there's the nonprofit that undergirds it. And they're like a marriage to each other. It's literally like a spousal relationship, and they both depend on each other because the nonprofit is what owns the station. The station, the reason the nonprofit exists, and there's challenges that come along with both. But I'll throw it to Shunqetta and I'll come back.
So, Bill, yeah, picking up on that, again, starting around the same time, I was working with the city, and I was a project and grants coordinator with the city of Jonesboro, and then had a budding family. We now have 5 children. At the time, it was 3. And to be honest, the route of entrepreneurship was 2 things. For one, I consider myself a kingdom entrepreneur. In a business world, you know, people like to use the terms a social entrepreneur, to where I do have a business that I do expect profits. I don't, however, prioritize that because impact is as great, if not better than, you know, profit. And so with the budding family, I needed the flexibility. Let me put an asterisk right there. Starting a business, you probably work more.
Absolutely. I mean,
you work more, for sure.
Sometimes around the clock. And I just want to quickly just add to one thing that she said about, you know, yes, you want to make profit, but more like impact. My radio mentor, he taught me, he said, when you serve the community will serve you. And what that means is, especially if you are in the nonprofit or even in the for-profit world, if your mission or the product and service that you offer or sell, if it's changing lives and making a difference, then people will get behind you and support you.
For sure. So yeah, started that was what, 2013, and then 2014 taking the leap to say, hey, again, I needed the flexibility, not underestimating the work that was going to be needed for entrepreneurship. But for myself, we all look at starting a business, what's your why and that value. The value was, for me, I didn't need people to dictate when I could go to my kids' Christmas parties. I didn't need for people to dictate when I go to their Valentine's Day parties. You know, I just that was high priority for myself, and I just try to be respectful because that's not a concern for everyone. You know, but it was a concern for me, or to be able to volunteer, or to be able to do things like this, right? And then too, going, I think with your part of that, your personality and who you are. I'm just not a permission-based person.
I'm kind of the same. And I'm the same
I mean,
way.
seriously.
And I'm the same way. Plus, my father was an entrepreneur. He had businesses, and I've always sort of worked for myself. But my reason was slightly different. I do not have any children, but one thing that I do struggle with, one thing that I do, and I'm very open about, I do struggle with mental health and depression. And every job that I ever had where I worked for someone else, I either was terminated or I had to quit because once the depression hits, I just could not function. So for me, flexibility means if I'm having a down moment, I can take a day off. I mean, there may be some critical tasks that I may have to do, but I can knock those out in an hour and say, you know what, I'll holler at y'all tomorrow. So that's what my why was for me, more as flexibility. And of course, the why for me was, you know, I love radio, and a seed was planted into my brain by my radio mentor. Because my dream was just simply, my first dream was just to be an on-air DJ. I wanted to have a show 5 days a week. I wanted to be famous. I wanted to be popular. Well, that happened. It just happened not in the way I imagined. Of course, she talks about kingdom, so God had other plans. But with that being said, after I did that for a while, so I would love to program my station. I would love to, you know, run a station. But again, my radio mentor said, aim higher. You ever thought about ownership? I'm thinking, ownership? Radio station for like 6-7 figures. I don't have that kind of money. But the seed was planted, and so in 2013, the FCC opened up the opportunity to start low-power, non-commercial, non-profit stations. This was an opportunity to bring something that Jonesboro had never been done before, a black-owned and operated radio station. So that was also my why.
So getting into the area of nonprofit consulting, I am working with communities, nonprofits, and who I consider second responders of the communities. And the reason why I say that is because when the disaster happened, let's just take it back to March 2020. The first people that were called were the E911, and myself and my husband actually were reserves for the Jonesboro Police Department. So that was one of the hardest decisions to do, like to get a call to say, hey, everyone has to be out, right? And you're there, but then who are the second people? We're gonna need places open, you know, people were displaced, and food and all of that. That's nonprofit work, right? And so often, even here with the library, right, you all have services that you give, and people feel like you should always give, and that giving, but we know, and you all know, that giving requires structure, it requires donations and sales and funding, all of this stuff. And so while I started out as a grant writer, it quickly morphed into, I recognize nonprofits are just businesses with a heart. But your bottom line is impact, but the same activities of business, when it comes down to marketing and community connections and impact, it's exactly the same. You need the same leverage in order to be successful. And so one of the things, as we're talking about like starting and what was a part of that journey, if I could share something with you right from the beginning that I didn't recognize, and I had to, even now, all you have is all you need. You would think that you need $100,000, $200,000 just to start. While that may be true of your grand scheme of things, but if we make the big goal so big and don't break it down, we won't start at all. So literally started with my laptop in my apartment, of course, with our 3 children. And that's how someone else, one of my mentors on the job, who did my logo. Seriously, you know, and then I started writing grants at no cost because I wanted to get my name out there as far as this is what I am doing.
So you have to be willing to invest, and like in my world, the low power stations, the community stations are successful. That's because they bought into their own vision before others would. But it is a brick by brick process. I want to kind of share a story talking about the tornado, because it's actually kind of a humorous story. So Kale, we partnered with Andy Storage to get a storage unit, one of portable storage Go Minis put on the property, because we set up as a collection point for donations for people to get clothing and whatnot. So one Saturday morning, I'm sitting at the studio, a U-Haul backs up. And I'm like, why is this U-Haul here? These guys jump out and said, my name is Pastor so-and-so of such and such church in St. Louis. I can't remember it. We heard about you all's collection efforts, and we just wanted to bring these donations. They brought a U-Haul full of donations. So I had to call Andy, the owner of Go Minis. Andy, this U-Haul just showed up as full of donations. I need you to bring another one of them Go Minis. He said, I have it Monday. So over the weekend, luckily, she mentioned the Kale building. Luckily, nobody else had to work that weekend, so we literally had clothing piled up from floor to ceiling, anywhere we could get room until they can deliver that second storage trailer. But again, that just spoke to the impact that somehow what we were doing made its way to St. Louis, and someone was led on their heart to bring a U-Haul full of donations.
And I know, part of this conversation is starting a business, and I would be remiss as a consultant to not just tell you just like some basics, and then, get back to kind of like that impact delivery as we're sharing. Right now, if you wanted to start a business, Arkansas Small Business Center, the Arkansas Small Business Technology Development Center, it's at the Delta Center on ASU's campus. It's a long acronym. They offer free services to those who want to start up a business. And it's true consulting. So when I say true consulting, they give you the paperwork and talk you through it, but you do have to, do that completion work yourself. And that was our free services. The Secretary of State, they have a guide to where, like, doing business in Arkansas, SOSarkansas.com or something like that. .gov, yes, .gov. And so there's a free resource booklet there as well. That's to do your own reading. Now, unshameless plug, I do, provide business consulting in 2 ways. Yes, direct, consulting from that, consultation, that's not free. I just want to put that out there. But I do have right. But I do have an avenue, and I'm so glad these 2 beautiful ladies are here. So one of the things that I encourage in Jonesboro community has taught me so well about starting a business, and LaGanzie spoke to this, of serving the community. What we do organically, we don't kind of dovetail into our business. And when I say we, African Americans, when it comes down to philanthropy and giving back, it's nothing that we're not used to. This is how we've survived, by collectively giving, and we have done that. We were the first groups to organize in this country, whether that was in unions or society clubs, to actually give back, in this nation. Those are just undisputed facts in history, although we know what's trying to go on in our state. I'm a political science major, so I won't die too deep. Okay.
I was too for a cup of coffee. I'm a lifelong political.
Yeah, but a part of that, when it comes down to your business, I would also say make social responsibility part of your business structure. And so for Carrie's Group Consulting, there's a mission and a mandate that God has called me to serve Black women entrepreneurs. And so with that, while I'm a nonprofit consultant, I do have a nonprofit called Over a Cup, and it's for Black women entrepreneurs. We meet every fourth Saturday at 9 a.m. to share resources. And again, these two beautiful ladies are probably, we call each other sister bosses, because again, what we do naturally, we do have to incorporate it so that the community can see as well. And it's not about gloating or anything, but you recognize very quickly in business that the people who give and that you see giving, you want to patronize more, right? And you like to ensure now that your money is tied to something good. And so we have to adopt that principle. And so that was just a segue I wanted to share about even starting your business. I know there's a lot of things you're going to need, and trust me, I know this. But also along the way, at every point and stage of your business, you can give back, and you must give back, and you must do that from the heart, but also don't disregard strategy of that. So I do make a public splash about Over a Cup, because that is the social responsibility that I have. You know, we kind of sometimes can take that piety to a different level, to where it's like we don't want to brag or be braggadocious, but it's not that. You know, it's just showing our good works. And so I just want to make sure I share that.
Well, not only that, when you show the impact you have, that leads to increased support and funding, and it's a way to do it. So one of the things that helped us with Kale and Kale, going back, story from 2018, was when we got the funding for the First National Bank Tower. So the way that came about was we had done a strategic plan with the H-State College of Business. That's another thing. Partner up with as many groups as possible. Take advantage of all the resources out there. So we were doing interviews on community conversations. Happened to interview the dean at that time, and he said, "Well, you know, this is a resource that we can offer you as a nonprofit, a free strategic plan, because basically students in the MBA program, they need the experience." So in that plan, they say, instead of saying, "Give us money," put together something that says, well, what you want, why you want it, what you're going to do with it, and what will a person get if they support it. And so then I took it one step further, because I was doing sports coverage for H-State Athletics, and whenever we would go to a game, they would always have like the stat sheet. It would always be broken down into categories, like, and so I put together a stat sheet on KLK. So we had former Mayor Perrin in the studio one day doing an interview, and he asked, well, after we got done, well, is there anything that you all need that could help with? And so I gave him a copy of my funding prospectus, and he zeroed in on that tower. It was on page 1, and the wheels were turning in his head. So, you know, he used his leverage and pull. He contacted the owner of First National Bank and said, look, I want to help these people. They do good community impact. I've seen personally the interviews that they've done, the political coverage. Of course, we stream library board meetings since we are in the library. Would you like to help with that? Well, how much are they asking for? Well, they're asking for $26,000. We just give it all to them. And, you know, the rest they say is history. And so, you know, that's but you know, we still take that story and relay it to this day. So always keep track of the impact you have. It's not, again, for bragging, but one of the things is, especially when it comes to grants, you know, people think that, well, I'm gonna just get a grant starting off. Well, you have to actually, it's kind of like getting a job. You gotta have some experience. You gotta have some experience first. People want to know, well, what have you done? So when you track that, you can say, well, yes, we do this, and that. Like with Kale and Kale, you know, we can point to the things like streaming the library board meetings, different events that we cover, the different interviews that we've done, even the number of interviews that we've done. I think we're probably like 600 episodes of community conversations and counting. So all of that definitely helps you.
So I wrote down some notes that also wanted to share, and for those that are viewing, just some of the things that I think are critical. You can learn a lot, and that learning will continue on. let me say this, why I just feel that it needs to be said. Starting a business, I've noticed now that the most successful people gives themselves at least 10 years. We literally had a speaker yesterday at, so over Cup, we were blessed to get funding, literally funded the entire program for Black women entrepreneurs. That's free for Black women entrepreneurs to go through a business cohort for 10 weeks. And we had Amanda Herget, the co-founder and owner of Gearhead. And you know, the success that they have like, what, 18 stores, 5 states. Yes, right? But listening to their story of how reaching that 10-year mark, the sacrifices that they made in their business, listening to other celebrities like Jay-Z, and I love Toby Wigway. And we've been here before he reached like 100K. Like we were already, when they were just literally sitting in the couch and speaking. Y'all know him and Fat, look him up. Just wholesome, great music. But you have these common themes of give it a decade. But oftentimes when you start businesses, you want to see success in the first year and then be ready to go on the yacht and a girls trip. No, seriously, right? Because of, I think social media has really glamorized business ownership to where the success in business for me is not about whether I can go to Cabo every, 3 months, but that I have 5 children. It's about legacy, right? So if starting a business, don't glamorize that. Seriously, because it takes work, and if you're in it, know that it takes discipline, which half of the years of my business I did not have. I did not have, but God is a redeemer, for sure. But it takes discipline. Also, I wrote down mentorship. No one can do this alone. You have to be willing to submit yourselves to people to say, hey, I actually don't know what I am doing. I literally have a meeting Saturday morning to talk about really this, some things in processes that I know that someone who has 30 years experience in this, you need a mentor, and you need to humble yourself to say, hey, there's just things I need, right? And be willing to be teachable. Even if you are a coach or a consultant in an area, you are always learning, right? And so I'll just say one more thing and I get you again. I'm sure he has some things. The value of time. I have learned that now the last 3 years of going on the nearly 8-9 years of having a business, that it takes discipline of your time. That time is the greatest currency. It's not the profit. And setting yourself on the schedule, and that you can't do what everyone else does, right? Because you're trying to do something different. You never want to fit in with the crowd when it comes down to your business. And so, setting yourself to a schedule, or at least striving to, right? Because things can come up. I didn't value that as much as I did, the last 3 years. Honestly, the last 18 months. I can really be honest, right? When it comes down to business.
And one thing that I would add to that is things are going to evolve. You may start off with one thing in mind and it morph into something totally different. I mean, with me, I know that I wanted to, do Black music with Kale, and I know that I did want to do community involvement, do interviews and things like this. But one thing that was probably the biggest game changer, it's probably been one of the most positive things that could have happened, is the ability to go live from events. And I tell people, I think Kale probably is more known now for where we go live from and the community service we do than the actual music that we play. But even when Facebook first started allowing for people to, wouldn't allow them live, but you could put videos on. I mean, we would take the interviews and we would record them on the webcam, and then we would immediately upload them. And then when we started going live, that just took things to another level. So even though start off with just mainly focusing on the music, to now become this community hub that reaches across so many different constituencies is definitely powerful. So don't be so rigid that you can't deviate, especially if something good comes along that can take you to another level.
No, that is a very valuable point. I started as a grant writer, and to be honest, that's probably about 20% of the work that I do now, because it has evolved into more training, in which it's an involvement that I've embraced, because grant writing puts me away from people, and I actually like the interaction. And then, of course, I do like to be by myself a lot working too, but it gives me that flexibility with training and doing leadership, or even here in these moments. So now that's an excellent point. I will also say about business. So again, y'all know I'm churchy. It just is what it is. But we know that there's nothing new under the sun. While we may be bringing something maybe new to the area or something, someone is already doing something that we're doing or along the lines of what we're doing. So you have to find your unique factor. I know that for my clients, I can't say what other nonprofit consultants do, but what I know that I do is, and that I know that is unique, every client that comes into Caris, I literally am praying for them. I'm praying for their success. Not only that I be a vehicle for their success, but then after me, that they are so successful that they tie it to me. Right? But I'm literally praying, interceding for the success. And then two, I'm striving to go that extra mile. If there's an information that I know and that I can share, I will give it. And honestly, I think our pastor has been instrumental in sharing that, really putting that in as freely you give, and then freely you receive. And it is of what that is. Like, we're the evidence of that teaching, to be honest.
And I'll just add that. So before starting Kale, some of y'all may remember back in the days of DJing parties on campus and we were in college, and back then, find like a generator to plug the music into. I mean, some of the vendors out there, most of them, their generators were full, didn't have any extra plugs. I think we finally found one. I think we had to like cobble together as many extension cords as we could to get the music. Fast forward about a few months later, one day, school bus pulls up in front of the station. I'm like, what's this Middleton school bus pulling up here? And then these kids come out with this box and their teacher, and they said, well, Mr. Kale, we just first of all want to thank you for doing Touch. We gave our time, and Touch trucks are really fun. I mean, we had a lot of fun out there. But because we gave, it came back to us.
Just to even add to that, again, I share with you all the dual hats of being a nonprofit consultant and then running an initiative-based nonprofit with Over a Cup. And actually, our vice president just walked in, handed rugs. We've been doing Over a Cup and meeting consistently since 2018. And this time, the last couple of months, so again, that's from 2018, right, to now. And then now we're in a space to where people will call because of Over a Cup. But doing this, going out, sharing the information at no cost. None of the things that we do now, still at no cost. But then now how people are seeking and wanting to give into that. And so I'm just sharing that with you. This is a principle, even if you don't have a business, just share, because you never lose. And here's the thing, if you're led to do something, no one takes advantage of you. They may think they are. They may think, and you may kind of know, like, I know your heart, but if you're led to do it, I promise you, what is on the other side of your obedience to give, it's not a loss. It's not a loss. It's not a loss at all. One of the other things I wanted to share about entrepreneurship grateful that you get to serve others with the gift that you have. I'm grateful that God allows me to use my service really is my knowledge. And I've always been a bookworm. I've always wanted to know information. I'm the person that will ask questions. And said a lot, but but I'm that person. But God allows me to do that. I love gathering information and breaking it down in the most simplest form for other people to be successful. I love to do that. And even when it gets hard, I have to remind myself, I get to be of service to people with the gift. And then I get to support my family doing that. So you're starting a business, whatever you're starting, don't forget the gratitude of it all. Because will it get hard? Yes. Are there nights that you will cry? Absolutely. Ooh, absolutely.
In my case, I tell people I have given blood, sweat, and tears to Kale and Kale. And I have literally given blood. So last year, we did a studio renovation project, and I literally injured myself twice in the process. And first time was we had bought a new broadcast desk after for years just having folding tables, put our equipment on. And I was just turning a screw and I'm like, tore tendon. Then I was, wiring up because I do most of my own engineering. I was running wires for new sound equipment. Sliced my finger. Should have got stitches. I was hard-headed. I didn't get them. But yeah, there was literally blood like spattered all over the floor. So there's literally my blood is in that kid. So yes, I can literally say I've sacrificed blood, sweat, and tears. But like Shunqetta said, that's what it's going to take to be successful. You have to be willing to do that.
I think and be willing to invest. Be willing to how I have it on my notes. Be willing to invest yourself also into systems. I learned that later, right? I can say LaGanzie is really great at various systems.
Well, I don't have a choice, just because of the nature of radio. One system that I was showing this in our leader circle meeting, like this new AI. I know some people are kind of leery about it, but it's going to be a game changer with the things that they can do. We could probably do a whole session on that, but also don't be. But I want to pivot that to say, don't be afraid to embrace new technology. Whatever field that you're into, whatever your business or organization is, sign up for newsletters, get connected with people that's doing it, stay on top of the trends, because you may see something that can benefit you that you can jump on that'll help make things easier for you.
And just to even expound a little bit, and so it's 12:45, like the systems of, I got QuickBooks late, right? Just doing things a little later. But like now I have a customer service software that I use. Now I have a note taker so that when I am in meetings and I'm on Zoom, and it's an AI note taker, it captures the notes for you. Sometimes, and I can say I was a little afraid of it at first because it's real time. Like it's just, but those, and I may not embrace every technology because some stuff I don't want talking back to me. Like I'm so serious, but that is like crucial to do those things first. But all in all, I will share. People say, ask, is everyone meant to be an entrepreneur? There's always a way that you can use your gift, even if you do other stuff. I think one form of income, doing a job for 40 years, that was a model that was set because that was the standard of the time, for our parents' generation and our grandparents' generation. And that's not to be disrespectful, because I kind of hate sometimes how we can disrespect the survival of past generations and what they had to do. That was what work at a factory for 30, 40 years, have a 401k. That was, we know, because from what they were previously dealt with, right, with sharecropping and all that stuff, it was just evolving. So let me just say that don't disrespect the survival and economic activity of our past generations. But now we're in an opportunity to where you can work here and still sell handcrafts on Etsy, right? You can still add waste, and so all of us actually can add income and in some way have something else. We can be dual persons, and then business owners show us that all the time. I didn't know until a few years ago that White Candle and what is it, Pink and Victoria's Secret and the Bath and Body Works, they're all owned by the same conglomerate company, right?
I knew that.
You know, all of these entities owned by the same conglomerate. There's different things,
Well, just like
and
Pepsi,
we can too.
like Pepsi, Pizza Hut, Taco Bell,
Oh, I knew that.
all them.
Yeah. So all of them can do, and if they can do that, y'all, we can add and be versatile. And again, I just told you I don't kind of ask questions about how they, I don't get permission, except right, you know. And so with that, just that's my encouragement. If you're wanting to do something where there is a will, I'm a testimony. He's a testimony that there is a way.
Now, if you could be open for
Yeah.
And of course, if you're watching on our live feed, you can drop questions in the comments as well.
I got several.
Go ahead.
First of all, I want to thank both of you for being here and allowing us to just basically take in this knowledge and this information. Excuse me. I am not from here. I'm pretty sure y'all can hear it. I am from Minnesota. Yes, I moved down here during the Black Lives Matter. That's about a couple of months before that is when I quit my job and decided to just say, it's too many Black people out here opening new businesses, and I'm sitting back every day just hoping somebody's gonna open a business that I want. So I'm just gonna take that first step and do it. So my first question is for, I'm horrible with names, but for you, is how do you schedule around work with a family? I got 4 kids, 17 nieces and nephews, and brothers and sisters that all look up to me. And I even got like people in my family, like my aunts, my uncles, my grandparents. I'm like the first generational person to do a lot of things that I'm doing. So like, how do you do that? Because I feel like I never take off my work hat with my kids. I feel like I'm still, I treat my kids like my clients. That's how I feel.
That's good. Good question. So it's Shunqetta, or if you see me, Michelle Obama's best friend.
Okay.
I respond to both.
Okay.
So let me be very honest. It is not the easiest thing at all. So I don't think there is a balance. I do know that there's a priority. My family is my priority. Point blank, period. I don't balance, like I'm in a sorority, I don't balance sorority and my family. No. You know, it's just not. And then 2, I recognize that I'm a woman of capacity. And it sounds like that's your calling too. 4 children, I have 5. So too much is given, much is required. So there's a capacity that we have, you may not even know, that you can actually handle a lot of things more so than a lot of other people cannot. Because that's our grace. But with that, you can't be everything to everyone and at the same time. There are some people that you're gonna have to like direct to the library. Seriously. There are some people that you're gonna have to, you know, direct to other spaces, and then ask yourself, is it necessary for me to help you, or because you just know that I can? You need to ask yourself that, right? And then, but with your family and your 4 children, now, and most people know, like my oldest, she's a social media coordinator. A lot of the stuff that you see on social media, she does. Or my babies, they put together the nonprofit summit videos. It's coming up on March 3rd. Nonprofit summit, and LaGanzie is the speaker as well. And so because business, this is the calling too, it's a priority, I blend it. That's what I call, like, it's a blend of my priorities. The business, because it's a mandate, that is a priority. My family is a priority. And every other thing, we just have to learn when to say no. Complete sentence, or even responding. Literally, there are texts coming through. It's 1 o'clock, going on 1 o'clock. I may not respond till 8 o'clock tonight. I may not respond, honestly, and she know I'm bad. I may not respond until tomorrow at 3. No, seriously, because it's like, you just have to have those moments. But I will say, too, just everyone will look up to you, but we have to understand, is that an admiration or a dependency? And sometimes you just gotta do this. But your babies, it is, because I like structure. So we do schedules and all that stuff in our home and stuff. Yes, I mean, we have posted up schedules when they get up, brush their teeth, what time they should be eating by the time in the morning, what time they should be leaving. Yes, structure is not a bad word. It's not. It is, yeah, they can probably argue with clients. Okay? Because definitely, you have to have it. But yeah, so it's a blend of priorities, but it's not a balance of anything else. Because we try to balance everything in life, in groups, in meetings. I miss meetings of other things I'm associated with. Yeah. And it's just, it is what it is, hon.
Thank you. Does anybody else have a question? Because I got a lot. I'm like you. I'm just like you. I got a lot. I got a lot. I love to learn. Okay, so my question is for you.
Okay.
When I quit my job and started my company, I do deal with like PTSD from my lifestyle and the way I grew up. So I got tired of how I would structure things. Is I was doing the work and I could get everybody on the team to be, we were putting in the goals that we were supposed to be putting in for work. But then you got somebody above you, like a supervisor, or somebody above the supervisor, or even somebody above the supervisor. Well, the store manager, I babysitted for them, they were cool. But just within there, it was, well, you're not doing this right, and so I saw that I had leadership, but it kept trying to be smothered like a fire, so then I just was like, no, I'm just gonna do this myself. But dealing with the mental health side of it, how do you take your days? Because for me, I feel like I can't start my days if I'm not meditating. I can't start my days if I don't speak with my therapist. I can't start my days if I don't get my Zen, get my steps in, eat right. How do you go about taking your days? Like, how do you just say, today I'm not gonna do it?
Well, I think that goes back to what Shunqetta originally said about structure and systems. Once you have your structure in place, then you kind of can prioritize what's most important. So I'll just use as an example. So one of the things that I have to do every day at the station was called the program log. That's pretty much whatever announcement is going to play the next day. If I don't do anything else that day, I have to do the log. So when I have days like that, I said, okay, I'm just crushed. I can't do it. What is the absolute bare minimum that needs to be done to keep this thing going? I do that, and I said, again, like you said, prioritizing, like everything else, it can wait. So, that would be the best way to approach it. And of course, as you progress along in what you're trying to do, you will learn and get those structures in place. You'll learn what you need to prioritize and what's the most important. But I just want to say that I admire you for what you're doing.
Thank you.
Speaking out. I would definitely love to connect with you.
I would like to connect with everybody in this group, whoever, because the one reason I came down here to start my business is okay. In Minnesota, me being a Minnesotan, I love Minnesota, but I do not agree with a lot of the way Minnesota is. So me being in Minnesota, coming from a melting pot, I saw that the black community was just straight smothered out. We have a lot of, we're just not going to say just African Americans. We got all my best friends. We got the Congo people. We got the people from Ethiopia. We got the South Africans. We have it all, but basically, back in the early 2000s when I saw it, it was like we was popular and then we died out. But when I came down here, and it's so weird you said something about the tornadoes, because that's when I came down here. And I thought I was gonna die on the highway because I had never seen cops stop traffic and wouldn't let nobody go through, or you couldn't get on the off-ramp or armor. I got on the shoulder and was like, look, they're gonna have to catch me to give me a ticket. But that's when I came down here, and before the storm, however how it looked, Jonesboro looked like, it was like God was saying, you know how you get that, like the clouds on? It was like, okay, where you gonna start at? And my motto was always, I'm gonna go where God places me. So when my vehicle broke down in Mammoth Spring, Arkansas, it was like, you supposed to be in Jonesboro. He said I moved to Jonesboro. I've been here now 3 months. My mom keeps begging me to come back home. She's begging me, but I feel like what I'm trying to do, being here, I feel like what you guys, I feel like it's gonna make a change. Already, I've run into several people just talking to people. People were like, "Oh, you could be the mayor, or you could be." I go, "Well, I'm not in the political way. I don't do too much politics. It really takes me there." But I just like the black community being down here. Like I really do love it. Like I feel like you ever watch a show or a movie. Okay, put it like this: Jonesboro is like a Kendrick Lamar album. do you feel that? To me, that's what it's like. It's like a Kendrick Lamar. Like literally, before I came, I had a dance class, and that was the last song before the dance. So it was like when I got outside, I went to looking around and walking and coming to this meeting. I just literally tell myself every day. At night, I do the crying, and I say, "Oh, I'm gonna go back home to Minnesota." But then when I get up and get outside, and I go, "Girl, you got this. You can do it."
Yeah. And I would just like to say, because I know we're probably 2 minutes now to the countdown. But like LaGanzie said, thank you, and you should connect with us. So you should be at our fourth quarter meetings.
Well, I do have one question. Hopefully.
And what is your radio station? How do you spell it? Because I listen to, like, are you on podcasts and stuff like that?
We do have a podcast, but again, like Shunqetta said, well, I'll just ask after we get off.
Okay.
But yes, connect with both of us, right? So that you can, I would love to see you. And I think we have to start things not from the point of who's not going to let it happen, the man, or anything of that nature, because I just believe and know that even if people put stumbling blocks and try to put things in front of you, wherever the path of destiny that you are supposed to get to, no man, no system, no policy, no law is greater than what God has for you. It just cannot. It just cannot come into full fruition. Like, so even with what's going on in Arkansas, even if senators are watching, there is nothing that you can put through that will stop history, that will stop successful entrepreneurship. There's just nothing that can be defeated, because whatever God needs to happen, and there's a reason why we are still here and thriving and prospering to this day, because it's divine. And there is no devil that can stop divineness. So I just want to share that with you, for us to be free in all that we do, because we are.
Escalation plate. So I'll add this before we close, just kind of piggybacking off of her, something my mentor said. He said, "LaGanzie, man, don't worry about this. You got 100 watts. Now, our radio station only broadcasts with 100 watts. That's, y'all remember them old school light bulbs?
Yeah.
We pretty much broadcast with the power of a light bulb. we've taken that light bulb and we've made a difference.
Yeah, I love
Thank you all for watching and listening and participating.
That was